On a warm summer's eve, on a train bound for nowhere, I met up with the gambler. We were both too tired to sleep, so we took turns of staring out the window at the darkness. The boredom overtook us, and he began to speak. He said, "Son, I've made a life out of reading people's faces, knowing what the cards were by the way they held their eyes. So if you don't mind me saying, I can see you're out of aces. For a taste of your whiskey, I'll give you some advice." So I handed him my bottle, and he drank down my last swallow. Then he bummed a cigarette and asked me for a light. And the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression. And he said, "If you're going to play the game, boy, you got to learn to play it right. You've got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done." Every gambler knows that the secret to surviving is knowing what to throw away and knowing what to keep. 'Cause every hand's a winner and every hand's a loser, and the best that you can hope for is to die in your sleep. And when he finished speaking, he turned back toward the window, crushed out his cigarette, and faded off to sleep. And somewhere in the darkness, the gambler, he broke even, but in his final words, I found an ace that I could keep. You've got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. We are tuned in to Fitness and Consciousness. Today's episode is called The Gambler. That song was written by Don Schlitz, of course made famous by Kenny Rogers. So this show, I might talk a little bit about gambling, but what I'm really talking about is just like the way we play our hands going through life. Like what do we get? What games are we going to play? What games are we going to quit? You know, we'll give some game a try. That sucked. I'm out of here. I'm going to be looking at this from several different perspectives, most of which have nothing to do with gambling. I did go to a casino once, donated about $130, and I didn't get what why people don't like to do that. Well, quickly, just to get rid of that story, it was a friend of mine's 30th birthday party, and we rented a van, and a bunch of us went to Hollywood Casino, and so I think there was like 10 of us that went, or something like that. And the first thing that happened, so we were all in, we were all together still. And one of the girls, she put $5 in a slot machine, and she won like 55. Like right away. That was the first thing that happened before we even like split off. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's good. And so pretty much what I did was just kind of found a slot machine, and I was, it's like up, you're down, and I wasn't really enjoying it at all, but I had my ticket, and it had like 60 some dollars on it. And I took it up to the cashier, and I said, "It's my first day. Do you have any advice for me?" And she said, "Go home." That's pretty damn good advice. But I, used that ticket, and I only took what I didn't mind too much losing. And so what I did was I went back and I played more because, my friends they were all playing different stuff. And then, so it gets down to like, you have like $5 left. And I'm like, well, I don't want to this could be the $5 that makes me rich. So, and what else is there to do? So, then you have $4 left, $3, $2, $1 left. Am I just going to leave with $1? No, put the dollar in, lose the dollar. Okay. And then so while my friends were losing the rest of their money, I went and just watched the Rod Stewart impersonator and yeah. So, anyways, that's my big gambling story. Never went back. That was, I don't know, that was almost 10 years ago, probably. Maybe not quite 10 years ago. I didn't see what the appeal was, but I used to like play a little bit of pool, and a lot of guys like to think that they're, real good at pool, but I knew some people that were like really good at pool. I played with them. My grandpa won a bunch of pool tournaments. He'd play like weekly at he'd play at a bunch of different places, but they had weekly tournaments at the senior center in Kokomo, Indiana. And I went with him up there a few times. They got some shooters up there. They got some real shooters. So he won most of the time. And then there was this guy, he was like always complaining because he couldn't see. He was a lot even older than my grandpa, but he beat my grandpa sometimes. He like complained he couldn't see the balls or anything, but he could still hit him in. He could make them disappear. Nobody else could see him either after he was done with his turn. But yeah, a lot of guys I think like to think they're a real shooter and maybe they could make a living. But I've known from a long time ago, if somebody wants to play for money, don't. I mean, I guess if you really know what you're doing, but I used to go play at this place. I haven't been there for a while, but it was only like $1.50 an hour to play, something like that. And they had nice tables in there, and they had some real shooters in there too. And they'd play up at the front, and then like the more gangster type dudes would play in the back. And so I'd be playing in the back. It's like, and sometimes I'd play up at the front. And I got to playing this one guy, and I noticed that there were a lot of the old timers start to like hang out and watch. And so I beat him like the first couple games. We weren't playing for money or anything. And then all of a sudden he started turning on the juice. Oh man, he was so good, like professional level, like real pro, top level pro style. And it was cool. And so he put a whooping on me the rest of the time. And we weren't playing for money. But then after he left, like one of the old timers came up to him and he goes, "I hope you know what an honor that was for you to play with him." And, the guy's name was Larry. Pretty sure I remember that right. This was a long time ago. And, he's like, he's one of the big, he beats a lot of these guys that are, playing on TV, but he's not one of these guys that wants to be on TV, because if you're famous and people know it, you're going to have a hard time hustling. And you can make more money hustling than you can being a famous guy on TV playing pool. So some of them shooters, they like to be kind of anonymous, but so after a while, then I saw him again in there, and we got to playing, and he'd played me for like, I think it was like $2 a game, but he'd be moving the balls all around. He'd move the balls with his hands. We're playing for money supposedly, because he's saying it's $2 a game, but what was really going on was he was giving me lessons, and so there was no complaining when he was moving balls around with his hands and then showing me something, and then he'd run the table out and I won $2. Out, it was okay, and I think sometimes I would even maybe win those games too. So maybe like some of the games I didn't. Yeah, but it was basically I was just paying for lessons. That was what was really going on, because there's no way in it I would, no, I wouldn't play a dude like that for money. But if you got it, and it's like the owner of the place, he'd come by and help me out. Sometimes he'd say, when I was playing, he's like, "Oh, I can see you have a good eye," and he was a real shooter too. But my dad, he was real good. We'd play. From the time I was a pretty little kid, we'd be going to all these different pool halls and around Greenwood, Indiana, other places in Indianapolis. Greenwood had a couple good ones, and then there was a bowling alley that had a pool hall attached to it. That was a pretty cool place to play. We'd go there. It was Expo Bowl in Beech Grove. I don't think that pool hall is there anymore. But yeah, we'd go play around. But yeah. Anyways, I didn't mean to get off on that whole thing. I was trying to think of the more play our hands out in other aspects of our lives. And something that just happened a little bit ago or last night. I posted something on this yoga Facebook group, and I thought I had learned my lesson before not to post stuff, but I posted this thing because there's this whole thing about toxins. It's like detoxing, and I hope this is sounding right. My video looks like it's not quite synced up here, but I think it's okay for the most part. But anyways, I found this study that Dr. Rhonda Patrick posted on Instagram, and it was about how much of these different heavy metals that we sweat out versus urinate out. And, some of these heavy metals we sweat out more than we pee them out. And that's kind of a big thing for a lot of yoga people to talk about is, yoga as a detox and, sweating out toxins and stuff. And that might not be the most technically correct way to say it, because like detox is something that you go through at a hospital. But anyways, I posted this thing from Dr. Rhonda Patrick on this yoga group, Facebook group. And then people start chiming in, like people that already know everything. Like, you can sweat out some, but it's not enough to be a big deal. Okay, did you read the study she posted? Didn't have to. Okay. It's it was just crazy. And so people were like making these comments and stuff instead of like, oh, interesting, I'll check that out. Then they just, most people just assume they already know better. They already know everything. And then in the post, what I wrote about it was like, I used to say it was a detox, and then I said it wasn't when I learned better, and then I learned that it was. So at the beginning of it, I'm saying like, oh, I was wrong a couple times about this thing, trying to say, I'm not sure, I don't know everything. But then people were commenting, I was like, well, I've been studying yoga for 25 years. I was started as a trainer in 1999. I've been around a bit. I've read a bunch of this stuff. I'm still open to having my mind changed in light of new evidence. And I know that I'm not even perfect at that, because I'll see something like, oh, that's ridiculous. Well, maybe it is and maybe it isn't. So people are commenting, and like some of the comments on these posts that people do, sometimes it gets like 200 and some comments, and it's like, so I ended up just taking it down. I was like, oh yeah, that's why I don't post anything, because it turns into insanity. And I was part of this Indianapolis vegan and vegetarian group, and when I would post something on there, it was usually like a recommendation for a book. I was usually like answering someone's question with, well, here's this book written by this doctor, and this is the page. I happened to be reading about something the day before. So I was like, oh, here it is. So I took a picture of the paragraph, and here's the book. And then people were just like attacking me. for recommending something that dares to challenge their paradigm. And so I ended up leaving that group. So it's like two things that I'm very interested in. I quit eating meat when I was 15. I'll be 40 next month. I've been vegan about half that time, maybe even more now. And then I started studying yoga 25 years ago. And so I ended up leaving that vegetarian Facebook group because it was like, these people are crazy. What is wrong with them? And then I was thinking about leaving that yoga group too. Just like, well, why do I want to be a part of something where it's just like, but for instance, yesterday I went to my buddy Ethan's capoeira workshop. He's really good, and hopefully he'll be doing more. We've taught at the same ones before. Actually, I invited him to teach at a couple workshops that I put on, and with different instructors teaching different things. And he's really good, really cool guy, really good capoeira guy. And so I went to his workshop yesterday, and it was really cool. There were other instructor level capoeira people there, and there were other people that had experience in capoeira, people that were like new to it, and it was just such a cool group of people. And it's supposed to end at 4. It ended more like at 4:30, and then people are just like talking for like a half hour afterwards, and then a bunch of us ended up going out to dinner. And it's just like this cool group of people that are just like, I was the only vegetarian, and I know a couple of them I think are into yoga. But my point is, so when I think of something like vegetarians or vegans, I'm like, okay, this is like my tribe. Okay, I'm going to be part of this group of vegans and vegetarians. And it's like, you people are nuts. Like, I don't want to play with you anymore. Why would I want to talk to you people? Man, this is crazy. And of course, not all of them. But it's just, sorry. It's just kind of like, as this Facebook group, I'm getting cyberbullied by a bunch of weenies. No offense to weenies. So it's like, it's interesting what we choose. So like this, getting back to the gambler and playing the hand and the game. What game do you want to be a part of? Do I want to be a part of this game where people just like bicker and argue about over like all this stuff? Like, I already know everything, and you dare to challenge the stuff that's in my brain. You're not a real vegan or something like that. It's like, do I want to be part of that? A lot of people that I've found that I've resonated with most, they might be hunters. I'm not going hunting. I don't feel like it's right to kill animals. If somebody else does, it doesn't mean we have anything to argue about. It'd be really weird to find somebody that thought just like I did. So it's like, I think I have these characteristics, I guess, or beliefs, and I'm not necessarily looking for all that in someone else. But if somebody is like this group of people I met yesterday, like some of them I already knew. I already knew a few of the people. And everybody there was so cool. And it's like, I don't care if they're a vegetarian or not. I don't care if they're a vegan. And I don't think they're bad for not being vegan. It just seems weird. But some vegans are like that. And maybe I was at a certain point. Maybe I used to be more preachy about it. But I think, well, I did ask one of the girls, she ordered something vegetarian, I think at the Thai restaurant that we went to. So I just asked her because it just came up and she wasn't. And like, oh, okay. No. I think about these other games that we want to be a part of. Part of these games are like these relationship games. And I've spoken before about this friend of mine who was more than a friend at one point and seemed like we might be more than a friend again. And when I brought up to her that I was the one that was paying for our dinners or our carry out every time except for once. And then her reaction was kind of surprising to me, like how she kind of treated me about that. And it was like, okay, so we've been talking, we've had this thing going on for 10 months or whatever. And then I just like, I think it'd be nice for you to reciprocate sometimes. I don't want to pay for everything. And then her like kind of taking offense to that and saying, well, we get carry out like maybe every other month. It's like, what? It's almost every week. And then she's like, well, maybe every other week. Well, sometimes it is every other week, but sometimes it's every week. Be a couple weeks in a row, not a week, a couple weeks in a row, skip a week or two. But so, when I brought that up to her, I know I was like taking a little risk of what is playing that card going to get me. And I guess I was hoping for just the realization, like, oh, you know what? You're right. Next time is on me. Let's go to this Indian place. Or maybe I was hoping for that to happen, like, maybe not like right away as just the immediate response to what I was saying, but like, maybe a few days later, hey, Indian, it's on me. Let's go. But that didn't happen. Like, okay. So, you play that hand, but you get closer to the truth, because I didn't want to keep like, because I think a lot of guys get into the habit of, trying to do things for a woman and they think that something's going to eventually happen. And there was part of me, because like we were seeing each other at one point. And then we were just friends. And then she starts snuggling up to me on the couch while we're watching a movie. I'm thinking, okay, stuff's kind of happening again. And so, just kind of like get stuck in this game, stuck in this cycle. And I was open for something else to happen, but part of me also like sees how she's kind of reacted in ways that I didn't think made sense, which is okay. But it's like, okay, it's time for me to like call it, I guess you could say, like, and yeah. So enough of that. That's not happening at this point. I would like for her to reach out, and maybe at some point, I don't have anything against her, not mad about anything, but I'm kind of glad I played that hand out, and now I feel like I'm even more ready for the next game. Not that relationship is really a game, but I feel like the table's quite cleared off for something else. Now, when someone else enters my life, so I might be interested in seeing. I feel like a lot of the table has been cleared off, reshuffled, and ready to go again. So let's see. I have something else I want to read. I make these outlines for these shows, and then I hit record, and it doesn't always. But oh well. I hope people are liking and following along. Since it costs a lot to win and even more to lose, you and me bound to spend some time wondering what to choose. Goes to show you don't ever know. Watch each card you play and play it slow. Wait until your deal come round. Don't you let that deal go down. I've been gambling hereabouts for 10 good solid years. If I told you all that went down, it would burn off both your ears. It goes to show you don't ever know. Watch each card you play and play it slow. Wait until your deal come round. Don't you let that deal go down. Since you poured the wine for me and tightened up my shoes, I hate to leave you sitting there composing lonesome blues. It goes to show you don't ever know. Watch each card you play and play it slow. Wait until your deal come round. Don't you let that deal go down. Don't you let that deal go down. No, don't you let that deal go down. It's Robert Hunter, Grateful Dead song. If I had a gun for every ace I've drawn, I could arm a town the size of Abilene. Don't you push me, baby, 'cause I'm moaning low. You know I'm only in it for the gold. All that I am asking for is 10 gold dollars. I could pay you back with one good hand. You can look around about the wide world over. You'll never find another honest man. Last fair deal in the country, sweet Susie. Last fair deal in the town. Put your gold money where your love is, baby, before you let my deal go down. Don't you push me, baby, because I'm moaning low. I know a little something you won't ever know. Don't you touch cold, hard liquor, just a cup of cold coffee. Gonna get up in the morning and go. Everybody's bragging and drinking that wine. I can tell the queen of diamonds by the way she shines. Come to daddy on an inside straight. I've got no chance of losing this time. No, I got no chance of losing this time. Robert Hunter is one of my favorite writers. I think his stuff is just about as good as writing can get. I see also like this played out the hand and business. And I've decided to kind of start a new game myself, let some things go. Sometimes when the game is over, it's all right. Sometimes it's just time to move on and make room for a new game. Well, I've decided to let my Strong First certification expire. Be a kettlebell instructor. It expires in May. and it's kind of weird to be excited about that. Well, I'm just going to be, I'll be unveiling more and more of my own method. Which, I guess I've already been doing it for years and years anyway. But once this little cycle is complete, I'll unveil more of what I'm doing. Like I offer online training. People you can send me an email. fitnessandconsciousness@gmail is the easiest one to remember, since it's on the show here. And if you're in the Indianapolis area, you can work with me one-on-one in person. But I decided to let my Strong First certification expire for a bunch of different reasons. Sorry, I had to pause there for a second. So I'm letting my Strong First cert expire for several reasons. Mainly, it's just to do my own thing. I don't want to be just under someone else's certification anymore, simply. I have my own method that I think is excellent, and I'm still learning from people. And I'm getting shirts made. And like all the Strong First shirts, they're all black and gray. And the shirts that I'm getting made are, well, it's called batik. It's like the method that my friend is using to make the shirts. But they're going to be colorful. Some of them are probably going to be tie-dye, and they're going to have color to them. They're going to have the heart chakra on them, and they're going to have the Shuddha chakra, the throat chakra on them. And they're going to be different colors, and they're all going to be a little bit different. So you're going to have this like design. So like she's making, I'll be able to have like the chakra image that she makes. But then when she makes another one, it's going to be a little bit different. It's just the way it is. Like you can't have two tie-dyes that are the same. They're going to be a little bit different. And I like that. So if people want to have a fitness and consciousness shirt, it's going to be a fitness and consciousness shirt. But it's not going to be exactly like mine. There's too much uniform. I don't want it to be a uniform. When I'm teaching people, I'm not trying to teach them to be exactly like me. I'm trying to show them their strength. I'm trying to help them find their own way. And so I don't want you to wear a shirt exactly like my shirt. I want you to have your own. You like the fitness and consciousness? Cool. You want the shirt made? Awesome. Yours is going to be a one of a kind. Because your fitness and consciousness is one of a kind. See? And some of these things, I think Strong First, I'm not trying to say anything bad about Strong First. Strong First is an excellent certification, I believe. It's not everything. It doesn't claim to be everything. But if somebody wants a kettlebell certification, or if I'm gonna hire somebody for a workshop, and I don't know them, but I know that they're a Strong First instructor, I can trust that. And I would say, okay, I'd probably hire them. If I talk to them and and they say they're a Strong First instructor, I might hire them just because of that. So I'm not trying to say that Strong First is bad in any ways. But after a while, these things, people will start to look alike. So if you look at the picture of a Strong First certification, a lot of them dudes look just the same. And I'm one of them. I'm one of them. I'm not saying I'm better. But after a while, it's just like, I don't want to be just the same. And I don't want the people that I teach to be just the same. So if you want a fitness and consciousness shirt, it'll be one of a kind. I'm really looking forward to see them. Today is February. No, it's not. It's March 10th, Sunday. And she said she's going to have the designs ready for me to check out this week. So I'm excited to see it. And just kind of excited just to, do more of my own thing. And that's really the whole idea. And so like the fitness and consciousness, it's partly it's for the podcast, but also like my training business also. My training business isn't really called Fitness and Consciousness. That's just the name of the podcast. And part of this transition that I'm going through, there's a little uncertainty of, sorry, I'm getting over a little bit of a cold. But part of this transition that I'm going through is like, okay, should I change my logo? Well, I don't want to just settle on one logo. It's hard enough just to settle on the name. So I'm going to have different images. That's why I said it's the heart chakra, it's the throat chakra, and there'll be other images too. Like whatever I feel like doing will be what happens. I think like with what like the meeting the people, like the workshop yesterday, and how everything was so cool. Everybody that met was really cool and friendly. And then just like the reminder of like what happens when you post something on Facebook in a Facebook group, and it's just like these endless messages of debate. It's like almost these sorry, these like people are like getting, it's like an argument algorithm. It's like you post something, oh, I'm going to just argue about that. Instead of saying, oh, interesting. Or instead of saying nothing, just check this stuff out. But I think a lot of people they want this sense of community. And so like maybe, that's why I'm part of the group. Maybe like I post something or like join one of these groups. I was just feeling a little too lonely or something like that. But, like that vegan group, I had to leave the group. It's like, this is insane. And I almost left that yoga group. I actually like clicked on the thing and I didn't see how to like leave it right away. So then I just like turned my phone off. I don't pay too much attention to it anyways. Yeah. Anyways, hopefully I'm not rambling on too much about that stuff. Here's something from the prophet, Khalil Gibran. And an astronomer said, Master, what of time? And he answered, you would measure time, the measureless and the immeasurable. You would adjust your conduct and even direct the course of your spirit according to hours and seasons. Of time you would make a stream upon whose bank you would sit and watch its flowing. Yet the timeless in you is aware of life's timelessness and knows that yesterday is but today's memory and tomorrow is today's dream. And that which sings and contemplates in you is still dwelling within the bounds of that first moment which scattered the stars into space. Who among you does not feel that his power to love is boundless, and yet who does not feel that very love, though boundless, encompassed within the center of his being, and moving not from love thought to love thought, nor from love deeds to other love deeds? And is not time, even as love is, undivided and paceless? But if in your thought you must measure time into seasons, let each season encircle all other seasons. And let today embrace the past with remembrance and the future with belonging. And the future with longing. I think, speaking of the community, there was an ex of mine, and she has, I think she's seeing someone else. She is seeing someone else now, as of a few days ago. Some of her, she has asked me about coming back on the show to talk about different stuff, relationship stuff, and it'd be interesting to have, an ex on and talk about relationships. And she's with someone else, but when we were talking, she was like, she has this longing, like desire for community that's, into the same stuff she's in. And she's somebody that, is in kind of in like the corporate world. She works for this major corporation. She makes very good money. And, she also has this kind of earth spirit going on thing where she has like this spiritual kind of thing also. So she's like has the business corporate thing mind, and she has this like kind of like this hippie kind of thing going also. And hippie, I mean that as a compliment. But just like this spiritual desire, this desire for community, and she's expressing these things to me. And, so I was like, okay, I think it's, I'm cool with her coming on the show. And I play that hand out as, start that game, play that hand out, see what happens. And, with the chance that, I'm a single guy right now. And so maybe that being in that game will throw off if I meet somebody else, like, oh, why are you still talking to your ex like that? And that has thrown off something before. But, I'm not a sneaky guy. I've never cheated on anyone but anyway, she's like expressing this longing for this community, and I've made she's asked me about coming on the show, and I pretty much open for it. This be an interesting thing. And that's what I see a lot of people wanting, is this community. And so we gather based on an interest, but that's almost like a surface thing, right? It's like yesterday at the capoeira. Yeah, capoeira, it's fun. I'm not like by any means a good at capoeira. I'd like to learn more about it and get better at it. But it could have, with that group of people, it could have been anything. Like, just being out to dinner with them afterwards. Like, if none of them did capoeira, they would still be cool to hang out with. And it's like, but having that interest gives you something to connect on. Like it gives you something to do, almost like something to keep you entertained while you're connecting at this deeper level that may not have anything to do with the activity. If that makes sense. And so, well, I'm thinking about it. If you're in the Indianapolis area, check out Indie Strength and Movement Community Facebook group. And you can join that, and we get together and we go hang out in the woods or go to different parks and play around and just do all kinds of fun stuff. A lot of people in the group are trainers of some sort, some kind of instructors or practitioners of different things. You don't have to have any kind of particular high skill level to be part of the group. Just join that, because that's what a lot of it is just like getting together, sharing these experiences with people that are somewhat like-minded, but also different. And we are excited about those differences. We're excited to learn about those differences. So what kind of games am I thinking about for the future? It's an interesting thing, because I'm turning 40 next month. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I've been doing jujitsu for like 20 years. Not that I'm like awesome at it, and I was doing it every day for 20 years. But I'm kind of sick of all the little injuries that come with it, and so the not so little injuries. Like I hurt my knee, and I couldn't hardly do anything for like about almost a year. And I could do like some workout stuff, but not everything. So I was like, was it worth it? Kind of yes and kind of no. But the last 2 jiu-jitsu classes that I went to, I left with like these little minor injuries. Like one of them, I messed my toe up. I think it's like a ligament thing, because that was like a few months, and it's still not quite right. And then like I went to another one in January, and we weren't in sparring or anything, but it just like popped like a rib, and that was pretty sore. I was like, I couldn't do hardly anything. It's like, man, this is getting ridiculous. And that's just the way the jiu-jitsu is. You can't, or there's a fine line between how you practice, because the whole idea is it's a martial art, and you want to get better at self-defense and protecting yourself. And it's also, a fun game to play with friends, like this game of death. And you're just, trying to kill each other without killing each other. So naturally, there's going to be some injuries that happen. And for the most part, we just accept it. But now I'm thinking, maybe I'll just like quit jiu-jitsu and learn to dance instead. And I think, okay, so there's this place like where I went to the capoeira workshop. It's only a few blocks from my house, and they have like dance classes and stuff. I'm not a dancer. Would be very much out of my comfort zone going to a dance class. I feel like I could go to a jiu-jitsu class anywhere, and I'm fine. I'm fit in. And if I get beat up, fine. That doesn't matter. And there's, I wouldn't be embarrassed if I go to a jiu-jitsu class and somebody beats me. It's not a big deal at all. But going to a dance class, I don't know if I'd feel, I don't know if really embarrassed. It's kind of an exaggeration, I think, but out of my element, I would say. But I want to be able to like, kind of like loosen up in a way, and not just like loosen up my joints, but more like maybe a little bit of that too. But I mean, I have good mobility and stuff. That's not exactly what I mean. From like loosen up, like in the more can't find the word I'm looking for. In the more general sense, like somebody, oh, you need to loosen up. They usually don't mean, oh, you need to stretch out more. It's like relax. You know, and I'm pretty relaxed, but just, you know what I'm saying. Y'all know what loosen up means, right? So in kind of like the way that I just want to like do that kind of stuff and like learn the skill of those movements and dancing, and be around people that are just kind of having fun. And but I'd also like, I might be like the serious guy at the dance class. Like this is serious. Like when I was taking these yoga classes, and I met this girl, I ended up meeting a girlfriend of mine there. We ended up being together for 2 years, but it was before we were seeing each other. And she was at the class, and her dad came to the class, and she was describing me to him when she was telling him that her and I were starting to date now. She's like, oh, you actually saw him at yoga class. He was the one that was very serious about the practice. And so he knew who I was because I'm the one that's really serious about it. My daughter was born just before I turned 19, a couple months before I turned 19. And I was working at this place. It was something like a FedEx, but a small place. It was called Quick Delivery in Greenfield, Indiana. It's like a small delivery place. And so, you know, like loading and unloading trucks. Like you unload semis and you load that stuff onto smaller trucks. And the owner, he came up to me. He's talking to me. He's like, you're too serious. That isn't good. I'm like, this is serious, man. This is business. No, I didn't say that. But it was like, even then, no, I think maybe I was in the mentality of, no, I have to do this work. I have a daughter now, and I'm transitioning from being like this hippie teenager to being a man. And, you know, it's just time to work all the time now. And it's time to like work and take care of what I need to do, take care of what I need to take care of, and do what I need to do. So maybe that's kind of like part of what I'm looking for, is to like be a little less serious, a little less stiff in my demeanor or something like that, maybe. But but jiu-jitsu is just fun. These like death matches and stuff with friends. And like usually my injuries are not coming from these hard sparring matches. Whether it was like kickboxing stuff or I guess most people would call it like MMA, but I always just called it like martial art with no S at the end. So I've had really hard sparring sessions where I had some buddies, and it's cool when you're pretty evenly matched, and sometimes he gets the better of you, sometimes you get the better of him. I had some buddies, and we'd train out in my garage a lot, or you know, different places where I lived. We would kick the hell out of each other, and I remember after like one time there was several of us trained in my garage, and my buddy Sam and I were training, and I was thinking like at that session, like he was almost like taking it too far, like he was being maybe like a little too rough for a sparring session. But then I later found out like he thought I was doing the same thing, but like really we were both just like elevated, and like so afterwards, like we sat down because we'd usually, I don't smoke or drink anymore, but like smoking weed is what I'm talking about. But afterwards, we'd all usually have a smoke and a drink and have a beer, you know, and just hang out after our sessions. And so he sat down, he had his legs stretched out, and our other buddy was like, oh my God, look at your legs. And his legs were just jacked, like bruised up from top to bottom. And I think mine probably, mine probably were too. We were both kicking each other a lot. But I don't want to spar like that anymore. Like the occasional, I mean, grappling can be different, but anyways, it's like I'm thinking about like, is that part of my game over? Do I want to stop doing that? I mean, it can be fun, but the injuries are not. So maybe it's just time for me to like do something else and see what happens. And I think I might start to wrap this episode up here. I hope I just turned to this page in the Prophet, Khalil Gibran again, and the Grateful Dead songs, I picked those out before I started. They had to do with like the gambling, but not just, gambling as a metaphor also. And so the Prophet, I just opened up to this page. And a woman spoke, saying, "Tell us of pain." And he said, "Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Even, even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so must you know pain. And could you keep your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of your life, your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. And you would accept the seasons of your heart even as you have always accepted the seasons that pass over your fields. And you would watch with serenity through the winters of your grief. Much of your pain is self-chosen. It is the bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. Therefore, trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility. For his hand, though heavy and hard, is guided by the tender hand of the unseen. And the cup he brings, though it burns your lips, has been fashioned of the clay which the potter has moistened with his own sacred tears. Interesting. So what kind of changes are you thinking of making? Are you thinking of like playing out a hand and just like know that if you just play that last card, like it could be over? Like what if you like call someone out? If you say call, you're calling, then they're forced to face the truth, and you are too. What do you do with that? Are you ready for that? Like with this friend of mine who was more than a friend, and it seemed like might be more of a friend again, and like okay, I'm playing this card. I don't want to pay for all the carry out anymore. What does that do? I mean, it shouldn't have been that big of a deal. But her response was like, in a way, it's kind of a bummer because I was hoping for something different. But in another way, I wasn't really hoping for something different. Sometimes we wish things were a way that they just are not. And your wishes won't change the reality. So sometimes you just gotta like play that hand out and like then you can be ready for a new game. So I think I'll leave it at that. I appreciate everyone listening. The show is doing so well. The analytics are always like, wow, this is really cool. And I have some great guests coming up. Even today, later on, I have Today I have a guest. Of course, by the time you hear this episode, most of you, it will already be out. And I have another cool guest coming up Wednesday. I have another great guest coming up soon. There's a lot of good guests coming up. So I'm thankful for everyone. And don't be afraid to play the game.